What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheeseheadz Weekly Podcast. It's good to be with you here on a Thursday, December 26th. The Packers shut out the Saints on Monday Night Football 34-0, the first shutout of this NFL season by any team, and it was a pretty impressive win. Granted, the Saints were down their starting quarterback and starting running back, both big parts of the offense, and also their number one wide receiver. So that does make a little bit of a difference. Regardless, the Packers defense played outstanding, and Saints really couldn't get anything going for the most part. And so a great job there, and their defense continues to get better. Hafley doing a great job in his first year as the DC. So we'll get into it here and break down the game. You can follow the show on social media at Cheeseheadz_weekly, on X at Cheeseheadz_W. New episodes come out every week, and it'd be great if you could hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. And, of course, you can hit that notification button on YouTube and or Spotify to get notified when a new episode comes out. We'll break this game down. It was a very nice win by the Packers. Probably, I would say, their best overall performance this season, although the passing game, we didn't have to see that a whole lot because Josh Jacobs, guess what, was running wild. We'll get into my players of the game here momentarily. Big win for the Packers. But we'll go right into the players of the game because if we're going to talk about Josh Jacobs, he is, of course, the number one player of the game. 26. I actually did not get that right. Pardon me. I will not put that up there if you're watching on YouTube. I forgot to input the stats correctly. Josh Jacobs got 13 carries for 69 yards. Good for an average of 5.3. Scored a touchdown. And really didn't play at all in the second half. I think maybe he played one series. That was about it. I'm not sure. Didn't play much in the second half, and it was Emmanuel Wilson, who is another one of my players of the game. 11 for 52, 4.7 average. He also scored a touchdown. Chris Brooks was 6 for 23, not as good of an average. Also did score a touchdown. All three backs were running hard, breaking tackles. Saints have not been a great tackling team defensively, but, that was really, really good showing by both the offensive line and the Packers running backs. Just, they wouldn't go down. And we saw that from Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs, and that was something that really stood out to me, that these guys came out running hard. And, of course, you expect that from Josh Jacobs, but great to see the backup guys getting those reps and being productive as well. And that's, of course, very nice to have multiple backs that can get it done for this team. So here's Emmanuel Wilson. Also had a reception for 4 yards. And Jaden Reed is another one. 3 catches for 76 yards. That is pretty much a standard receiving line for a Packers wide receiver. Their leading wide receiver on the week, it was Jaden Reed. 2 big plays down the field. One came from Malik Willis as he came in and threw a 34-yard pass, a dime, by the way, right to Jaden Reed. Very nice play. Willis, he really came in and looked exactly like Malik Willis that we've seen all season whenever he's been in the game. It's crazy how good this guy is playing right now. And, he didn't even have to do that. He just comes in to salt the game away and just throws a dime. It was pretty nice to see. Had a few nice handoffs in there as well. So shout out to Malik Willis. So much fun to watch on the field. And, of course, Jaden Reed had a really nice catch on a throw by Jordan Love. Wasn't the greatest throw, and he made a contested grab with Tyrann Mathieu right there in his face. And we've seen that all year from Jaden Reed. Contested catch situations, he has been pretty good in that department, especially for being a smaller guy. So good stuff from Jaden Reed. Tucker Kraft also was 3 for 63, not bad as well. And, of course, Josh Jacobs, 4 for 38 as well in the passing game. You love to see it. Dontavian Wicks had a score in this one as well. Also was targeted the most of any receiver by a lot, by 3 actually. 7 targets in this one, caught 3 passes for only 13 yards, but would love to see Dontavian Wicks be able to, catch a few more passes. His catch rate has not been great on the year. I'm not sure he really dropped any in this one. Could have been product of a not so great throw, or you know how things go in the game. Jordan Love, turnover-free football, not necessarily a stellar performance by him. Had plenty of incompletions sprinkled in there, 16 for 28, but protected the ball, did what he needed to do to get the win, and big test coming up next week for the offense, and specifically Jordan Love. Players of the game defensively, we'll get right into this as well. Number 1, guess who? He's back again. Edgerrin Cooper, 10 tackles, a tackle for loss, and he was everywhere. The stats, the box score doesn't really reflect how impactful he was on this game. He was all over the place. The tackles were very impactful tackles, and he was making plays, man. So Edgerrin Cooper, gotta love what this guy is doing, especially with Quay Walker out right now. And Quay Walker was playing good before he got injured. Hopefully he can come back strong as well, and they will have a dynamic 1-2 punch at linebacker. Eric Wilson made a few plays as well, as he has all season, as just a fill-in type guy. And of course Isaiah McDuffie has been pretty solid in his own right as well. So this linebacker group really shaping up quite well, and Cooper looks like an absolute star at this point. So yeah, another great week for Edgerrin Cooper. Number 2 on the list is Brenton Cox Jr. 2 tackles, a sack, 2 QB hits. According to PFF, he had a run stop, 5 pressures on 17 pass rush snaps. So very nice performance for Brenton Cox. Rashawn Gary also had a nice performance. The pass rush was very good once again. And Rashawn Gary wasn't even on the field that much either, or at least not rushing the passer a ton. So that is great to see that production without a ton of, getting a ton of snaps to do it. Number 3 on this list, and this is a big one, Zane Anderson, 3 tackles, 2 pass breakups. One of those was an interception of Spencer Rattler. Big play for Zane Anderson, and he is playing in to replace Evan Williams, who got injured in practice this week, ultimately was ruled out. According to Matt LaFleur, could miss a few more games. I would expect him back by playoffs at least. Hopefully, that seems to be kind of the timeline. Not real long term, but could miss a game or 2 or 3. Who knows? Not an injured reserve type injury. So Zane Anderson, very important, and he's probably going to get the start next week as well at safety opposite Xavier McKinney. And he performed quite well, and performed well as well when he got some run last week as well. I could be wrong actually about the Evan Williams injury. No, he did suffer that in practice. At one point, Zane Anderson was in. Maybe that was because they were leading by enough. I thought it was because of injury. Not sure. Maybe he got injured in the game as well and re-injured it in practice. I'm not sure what happened there with Evan Williams. Not been keeping up on that real great, but regardless, Zane Anderson is playing good football on defense, something I didn't necessarily see coming as more of a special teams guy. So good to see that from Zane Anderson. And of course, he'll be important next week as well, and potentially beyond if Williams is not back. As far as an injury report, we did get that, or at least an estimated injury report. I'm not sure if they actually practiced or not. It looks like maybe they did practice. 4 players did not practice, and that would be receiver Christian Watson, who went down with a knee injury, came back briefly, and then exited again, did not return after that. Evan Williams, quad injury for him. Linebacker Quay Walker and linebacker Tyron Hopper, ankle. That is okay. The Packers didn't practice on Wednesday, so there you have it. So these participation reports are estimates, but it looks like the Packers don't think that they would have been able to practice on Wednesday with those injuries, so something to monitor. New injuries, Watson and Hopper are the new injuries there. Walker and Williams were ruled out in this game, so they did not play, and they are still not practicing, or the Packers don't think they would be. Watson and Hopper, new injuries. Don't know when the Hopper one happened necessarily. Could have been on special teams. I'm not sure he got a whole lot of snaps on defense. Maybe he did towards the end, I guess, with them being ahead by so many. I do know they had some second stringers on the field there towards the end, and they still stopped the Saints from moving down the field. Pretty much the Saints' only productive drive was stopped by the Anderson interception, so they really couldn't get much going. Matt LaFleur did not rule out Christian Watson from being able to return this week, and he apparently avoided significant injury, so could play versus the Vikings and certainly would be a huge asset in that game versus the Vikings if they can get him back out there. Tight end Tucker Kraft was estimated as limited with a hip injury. He should be good to go. Williams likely will miss another game, I would say. Rookie Javon Bullard, who has been their slot corner and played some safety as well with Williams being out, missing some time this season. He's missed 2 straight games, and he was estimated as limited, so he could be back versus the Vikings, which would be huge. Jair Alexander estimated as a full participant again. This is the second straight week, or I guess third straight week, where he has, I guess he's coming off his second straight full week of full practice and starting out this week with another full practice estimate, of course. He is TBD, though, did not play in each of the last 2 weeks, so we'll see if he can return. Corey Ballantyne also estimated as a full participant. Luke Musgrave with the ankle, limited, estimated as that as well. He should be good to go. He'll just be eased back in. Did play last week, just a few snaps. Don't believe he was targeted. I guess I can check. He was actually targeted, did not have a catch. Targeted once. So it'd be great to get him back and at full strength come playoffs. The Vikings, as far as their injury report, they didn't practice on Wednesday either, but these are the estimates there. Harrison Smith, estimated as a non-participant. Cornerback Fabian Moreau, out with a hip. Both didn't play last week. Vikings got Ivan Pace Jr. to practice in full. Estimated, of course, coming off of IR, so he'll likely be back. Or I guess he played last week is maybe how this is reading. I'm just literally reading off of Packers Wire here. Shout out to them. Very great news source that I basically use for all things Packers. And, the injury reports, stuff like this. The only other limited player was Jalen Redmond, who is coming back from a concussion, so that's something to monitor a little bit there as well. So Packers slowly getting healthy, and hopefully can be pretty much healthy by playoff time. Jair Alexander could return in this game. It seems like he was closer to playing last game, but they really want to make sure he's all right. We'll see if he plays. Certainly would be huge to have him, but he likely will be pretty rusty here against the Vikings. But yeah, it would be great to have him against Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, who have been quite hot as of late. And that leads right into my 3 keys of the game for the Packers versus the Vikings. And we'll get right into it here. Number 1, let's get the passing game going. We haven't seen a ton of the passing game, mainly because they haven't needed it, to be completely honest. But they might need it this week. The Vikings defense has been quite good against the run, but they are a little bit more of a pass funnel. Not so great against the pass. So they want you to throw the ball against them. And they are also number 2 in the NFL, just above the Packers in takeaways this season with 30. Packers have 28. They have 22 picks as a team. That leads the NFL. So this is a game where you're going to have to protect the football as well, which is my next key to the game. But you also got to get the passing game going because it's going to be a little harder to run the ball. Not saying it can't be done with Josh Jacobs and this great offensive line, but we have seen them do pretty well in pass protection as well. So we'll see if Jordan Love can really get into a good rhythm with the passing game. That is how the Packers beat them last year down the stretch, and we'll see if that happens this year. Jordan Love playing good turnover-free football. I believe the last time he had a turnover was, I don't know, probably against the Lions or Vikings, somewhere in that range. I'm not sure if he's had one since the bye week or not. He has done a tremendous job at protecting the football, but we haven't seen quite as great of a passing game as we saw down the stretch last year. So we'll see if we can get that going, and this is a great week to do it because probably going to need to get it going against this great Vikings team. Great offense, not so great passing defense, but a great run defense as well. And so, of course, protect the football, get the passing game going. They kind of go together a little bit. And then defensively, you got to find a way to stop Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. They have both been really great this week, and don't discount TJ Hawkinson as well, what he can do at the tight end position. Packers have historically not been great at stopping great tight ends, and so we're going to have to see what happens here with TJ Hawkinson and, of course, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and especially if you don't have Jair back. Even if you do have Jair back, could be a little rusty, so it could be interesting. And so probably the formula is to put a lot of pressure on Darnold. He can be mistake prone, as most quarterbacks tend to be, if you put lots of pressure on him. So maybe that is something that happens. Again, Packers number 3 in takeaways defensively in the NFL. And Eric Stokes has been playing better. This is his second straight week in the top 5 in the PFF grades for the Packers defenders on the week. So only allowed 1 catch for like 4 yards or 2 catches, I don't even know, into his coverage. Not much. So Stokes has been playing better. Valentine has been playing pretty good as well. So yeah, he had an interception last week. It's got to be difficult. It really is. But hopefully, if you can get some turnovers, if the offense plays well enough, maybe it doesn't matter too much. So definitely a huge test offensively and defensively coming up is definitely going to be a fun and interesting game for the Packers. I'm pretty excited to see what happens. And pretty much, this is about as close to a must-win game as you get when you're in the playoffs. They did clinch playoffs with this win. But still, you really need to win this game if you want to be, if you're really hoping to contend for a Super Bowl. So this is really the next step. They beat up on the Seahawks, pretty good team. Saints, very beat up, not a good team. And Now you got to go into Minnesota and try to beat them, who you've already lost to this year, and finally beat a good, true contending team. And maybe that will maybe push them into that contender status a little bit more. Not saying I don't think they can beat them. I'm just saying it's going to be a challenge, and hopefully we can see it. The game will happen Sunday afternoon on Fox. I would assume we get Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt. Not necessarily excited about that, but it is what it is. 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central Time is the start time, and it will be in Minnesota. So, hostile environment, to be sure. That stadium's normally rocking pretty good, so we'll see what they can do. That is about going to do it for me for this week's episode, though, and hopefully we will see some things next week. It's going to be a fun game to watch for sure. So, big test coming for the Packers, and I'll be back next week to break it all down. Thanks for listening, everybody, and go Pack Go.